Imagine walking into a room. You don't say a word. You don't smile. You don't try to impress anyone. You don't ask for attention. And yet, people look at you. Someone suddenly lowers their voice. Someone else becomes curious. And without understanding why, people start wondering, who is that guy? That is what people call aura. But here's the truth most people never understand. Aura isn't magic. It isn't about being the most handsome person in the room. It isn't about wearing expensive clothes. And it definitely isn't about acting like you're better than everyone else. Real aura comes from something much deeper. How you control yourself. Because people don't only listen to your words. They read your posture, your eyes, your voice, your silence, your reactions, and most importantly, they feel how badly you need their approval. Think about it. The person desperately trying to be liked usually gets ignored. But the person who doesn't need to prove himself? People become curious about him. That's the psychology we're going to explore today. In this video, I'm going to reveal 10 psychological secrets that can make your presence stronger, calmer, and more magnetic. Not so you can manipulate people, but so you can stop looking for validation and start becoming the kind of person who naturally commands respect. So stay until the final secret. Because the last one isn't about what you do. It's about what you stop doing. Let's begin. There's a strange psychological rule about attention. The more desperately you chase it, the less valuable you appear. Think about someone constantly trying to make everyone laugh. They talk louder. They interrupt. They tell stories just to be noticed. At first, people may pay attention. But eventually, they stop taking that person seriously. Now imagine the opposite. A man walks into the room. He doesn't interrupt anyone. He listens. He speaks when he actually has something to say. Suddenly, people start noticing him. Why? Because his behavior communicates something powerful. I don't need this room to validate me. That is quiet confidence. And quiet confidence creates curiosity. Secret number 2, master the pause. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. Someone asks them a question, and they immediately answer. Someone challenges them, and they immediately defend themselves. But powerful people understand something different. A pause creates presence. Before answering, take a moment. Look at the person. Breathe. Think. Then speak. Not slowly because you're trying to look cool, but calmly because you don't feel pressured. That tiny pause changes the energy of the conversation. It tells people, I choose my response. My emotions don't choose it for me. And that's one of the foundations of a powerful aura. You don't react to everything. You decide what deserves your reaction. Eye contact is powerful. But there's a difference between confidence and staring. Confident eye contact says, I see you. Insecure eye contact says, do you approve of me? That's the difference. When you're speaking to someone, look at them naturally. When they speak, actually listen. Don't keep looking around the room searching for someone more important. Because attention is one of the clearest forms of respect. And here's something interesting. People remember how you made them feel far more than the exact words you said. So when someone speaks to you, give them your attention. Not because they're more important than you, but because you are secure enough to be present. Secret number 4, slow down your movements. Watch people when they're nervous. Their hands move quickly. Their eyes move constantly. Their body shifts from one position to another. Now watch someone completely comfortable in their environment. Their movements are controlled. They don't rush. They don't constantly adjust their clothes. They don't keep checking their phone. Why does this matter? Because the brain reads movement as information. Fast, uncertain movements can signal nervousness. Controlled movement can communicate composure. So walk with purpose. Sit down without rushing. Turn your head slowly when someone calls your name. And when you're standing, stand like you actually belong there. Not arrogantly. Calmly. Because the goal isn't to look powerful. The goal is to become so comfortable with yourself that you no longer need to perform power. You could have the best advice in the world, but if you deliver it with nervous energy, people may ignore it. Your voice carries emotion before your words carry meaning. So stop trying to sound impressive. Instead, sound certain. Don't rush through your sentences. Don't fill every silence with like, or unnecessary words. And don't raise your voice simply because you want people to listen. A calm voice often creates more authority than a loud one. Think about leaders. The most commanding person in the room isn't always the person speaking the loudest. Sometimes, it's the person speaking the least. There's another important rule. Finish your sentences. Don't let your voice disappear at the end as if you're asking permission to have an opinion. Say what you mean. Then stop. No unnecessary explanation. No desperate justification. For example, instead of saying, "I'm not really sure, but maybe we could possibly try this," say, "I think this is the better option." Simple. Clear. Direct. That's presence. And remember, you don't need a deep voice to sound confident. You need control. Control over your breathing. Control over your pace. Control over your emotions. And control over your need to impress. Because when your voice is calm, your presence becomes calm. And when your presence becomes calm, people begin to feel it before they understand it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is explaining themselves too much. They meet someone and immediately tell them everything. Their plans, their problems, their relationships, their future goals. But mystery creates curiosity. You don't need to hide yourself. You simply don't need to reveal yourself all at once. Let people discover you gradually. If you're building something, you don't need to announce every step. If you have a goal, work quietly. Let the result introduce you. Because there's a difference between telling people who you are and giving them enough time to discover who you are. Secret number 7, become comfortable alone. This might be the most underrated part of having aura. If you can't enjoy your own company, you will constantly search for other people's attention. You'll check your phone. You'll worry about being left out. You'll chase conversations that don't matter. You'll accept disrespect just to avoid being alone. But when you become comfortable alone, something changes. You stop begging people to stay. You stop forcing friendships. You stop performing for approval. You can walk into a restaurant alone. Sit alone. Work alone. Think alone. And still feel complete. That doesn't mean you hate people. It means you don't need people to tell you that you matter. And that is powerful. Because the person who can walk alone is much harder to control through loneliness. Your aura becomes stronger when your identity doesn't depend on an audience. Someone insults you. You immediately respond. Someone ignores you. You become angry. Someone disagrees with you. You feel personally attacked. This is how most people live. They're constantly being controlled by external events. But imagine someone says something designed to provoke you. And you simply look at them. Pause. And continue. That's emotional control. And emotional control creates presence. Because people quickly notice who can be triggered. If someone discovers that one sentence can completely change your mood, they have power over you. So don't give everyone that power. Before reacting, ask yourself, is this actually important? If the answer is no, let it pass. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every person deserves an explanation. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence is the proof that you have nothing to prove. But there's one important distinction. Emotional control doesn't mean becoming emotionless. You can feel anger. You can feel sadness. You can feel fear. You simply don't let those emotions drive the car. You feel them, understand them, and choose your response. That's maturity. That's discipline. And that's the kind of strength people can feel without you announcing it. A powerful man doesn't need to tell everyone, I am in control. His behavior makes it obvious. This is where real confidence begins. Every time you tell yourself, I'll wake up early, and you don't, you lose a little trust in yourself. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes next week, your self-image gets weaker. But every time you make a promise to yourself, and keep it, something changes. You begin to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you don't need constant validation from other people. That's real confidence. Not Instagram confidence. Not fake alpha behavior. Not pretending you don't care. Real confidence is knowing, if I say I'm going to do something, I will. Secret number 10, stop trying to prove your worth. This is the final secret. And it's the one that connects everything. You don't need to prove you're intelligent. Your decisions will show it. You don't need to prove you're strong. Your discipline will show it. You don't need to prove you're successful. Your results will show it. And you don't need to prove that you're different. Your life will show it. The moment you stop trying to convince everyone of your value, you become much harder to shake. Because now your confidence isn't based on applause. It's based on identity. You know who you are. You know what you're building. You know what you stand for. And you don't need a crowd to confirm it. That is the difference between looking powerful and being powerful. So, if you want an aura that people remember, don't start by changing your clothes. Start by changing your behavior. Speak with intention. Move with control. Listen deeply. Protect your peace. Keep your promises. Stop chasing attention. Stop explaining yourself to everyone. And most importantly, stop measuring your worth by how other people respond to you. Because the strongest presence in the room isn't always the loudest. Sometimes, it's the person sitting quietly, watching, thinking, and completely comfortable being himself. He doesn't need to dominate the room. He doesn't need to convince anyone. He doesn't need to announce his confidence. He simply has it. And when you reach that level, something strange happens. People begin to notice you differently. Not because you're demanding attention, but because you no longer need it. That's the real aura. Not magic. Not manipulation. Not pretending to be a king. It's becoming so grounded in yourself that you stop asking the world for permission to be who you are. So remember this. Move with purpose. Speak with certainty. Think before you react. Build in silence. And let your results make the noise. Because when you don't need to prove your power, that's when people finally start feeling it. And that is what it means